I just spent like half an hour recording the first audio before I realized it was picking up background noise, so now I'm back in my closet. So, starting this video, I want to start with a short assignment. Write down and draw your preliminary idea of the feet. Draw how you usually draw them, put them aside. We're going to look at them later. What this is going to do is show you your mistakes in review. Before I started, I was pretty sure there were 3 parts of the foot: the heel, the bridge, and the toes. See how that holds up. For reference, I'm going to bring up several artists, such as Mike Matese, Proko, Stephen Rogers Peck, Michael Hampton, and include their methods and how it works to help you study. First up, we're looking at the bones. There are 3 sections: the heel, made up of 2 bones, the arch, made up of the cuneiforms and the metatarsals, and the toes. As we look through the foot, we're also going to compare it to the hand because there are similarities. Of the heel bones, we have 2. The calcaneus, apparently I said that wrong in the last video, and the talus. The calcaneus is this blocky shape that makes up like 60% of the heel. It's focused on the lateral or outside side of the foot. This is the first mistake when drawing the feet: putting the heel right in the center of the foot. Push it off center. The talus is often simplified to a small wheel that sits on top of the calcaneus. This is where the tibia and fibula connect to the foot via the ankle. Quick tip with the connection points here: the ankle connects to the talus like a wrench. The fibula is lower than the tibia, causing an angle tilted upwards. Now, the talus only allows plantar and dorsiflexion, so another bone handles the inverting/exverting, but it's combined with the same shape I'm getting to next, so I don't think there's really a point to knowing it in regards to being able to draw the foot. The next section is the cuneiforms. This is exactly the same as the bones in the wrist of the hand. It's the halfway point of the overall shape of the foot, and right at the point where we start to transition to the metatarsals. The metatarsals are, again, exactly like the metacarpal bones in the hand. They're a much bigger chunk, comparatively, taking up 3/4 of the other half of the foot. They also do something very interesting. You know how the palm shape is bent inward like a C? Well, the metatarsals also do this, but with a twist. They steer sharply to the lateral side, mimicking the ankle's angle, although much sharper. This causes the lateral side of the foot to be touching the ground completely, while the medial side has that arch like a medieval bridge. This also makes it so you see more of the metatarsals from the lateral side, but you only see the big toe and a little of the others from the medial side. At the front, the metatarsals make contact with the ground and form the first knuckle of the toes. This point right here is extremely important. It's a contact point for the foot. It's one of the lines in Mike Matese's force drawing, and it's the balls of the foot, so that's where you leap off when you jump or you walk. Also, when you bend your toes, you'll see the knuckles pop up around there. Problem I think I did with the toes was the contact, is I made the toes the contact point, I think. And then when it came to bend the toes, I had no idea where to bend them, and I bent them in the wrong place. I'll just try to explain throughout the video better, but just remember, this area is very important. Alright, next we got the toes. I'll get into how to draw them when I put the flesh on the bones, so for now I just want to bring up proportion and how it's similar to the hand, or specifically, the finger. If you watched my hands video, you'll know that I explained the fingers are split into thirds, but not equal thirds. It's more like it's split in half, then the upper section is split in half. It's the exact same way with the foot. It's not split like this, but rather like this. Okay, so now that we got through all the basic bones and proportions, I'm going to start bringing up other artists and their methods to simplify / some tips. Number 1 is Proko. In Proko's videos, he has you simplify the foot skeleton into blocks. The first shape looks like this. You know what this is supposed to be? The footprint. When you look at the footprint, you see it starts at the heel, curves all the way to the front of the metatarsals, and subtracting the toes looks like this. Kind of reminds me of a scanner at the store. Beep. You need $100. It has this shape because the outside touches the ground, and the inside of the foot arch doesn't. After you make this simple shape here, you add a sloped block to the top of this block. It rests a little towards the medial side because this slope box with a circle here is a combination of the talus and cuneiforms sliding into the metatarsals. And if you look at the bones, the talus actually does lie a bit to the side of the calcaneus, predominantly towards the medial side. At the front of these shapes, you have a wedge. This wedge is the toes. Overall, this way of simplifying the foot is good, because it makes you think in the 3D forms that you can turn in your head instead of 2D lines. Stephen Rogers Peck also simplifies it in this way, along with a cardboard cutout approach. This shows you just how much of the foot rests on the lateral side. Also, if you put cloth on this, there'd be an arch in the medial side and flat on the lateral side. Here's a little simplification I did. It's not my original idea, obviously, it's a combination of stuff from other artists. I have a rounded block for the heel, because the calcaneus isn't a sharp block. Again, make sure it's towards the outside. On top, we got the circle for the talus. We stretch out a little block for the cuneiforms. Streaming right off that, we continue this tilted, arched, and curved rectangle. You can make the cuneiforms and metatarsals one block, but the reason I've separated it here is because this is the point it bends to be springy, so it's the apex of this curve. It won't bend too much, but a little bit. Alright, then remember the contact point with the ground. Now we add a wedge to that for the toes. Also, real quick, another thing about the metatarsal to toe point. There's a bump on the outside of the foot. Peck drew this. I hope this makes sense. For a quick gesture, I highly recommend the force method by Mike Matejy. It goes like this. This directional force arrow, I'm not going to go into detail on the force method in this video, but I might do a video on what I've learned from it in the future. So just this line from the outside of the leg hits into the heel. After that, it sweeps into this line, which represents the arch of the feet, and then arcs and slams into the balls of the feet. Most of the time, they just stop here, but then if they want to incorporate the toes, you'll get another mini arch, and then slam into the toe pad. Michael Hampton simplifies the foot to a triangle shape, which I use all the time. The only problem I have with it is it causes the back of the foot to be flat. But if you look at the calcaneus, it stretches backwards more. Other than that, the shape is extremely useful and I do recommend it. Also, when you look up pictures of feet, for reference of course, you'll start to see that there are crazy poses for your toes. Like some will be pointed up and the rest will curl inward. To understand this, I would work with twisting boxes so that you see a little of the top and the bottom. In fact, in dynamic angles, this is more than likely what you're going to be seeing with the foot. Alright, last bit. The dreaded toes. One mistake, and they look like mini sausages on your feet. The primary reason this happens is because they simplify the toes to cylinders, like with the fingers. But this is the one time the feet do not relate to the hands. The toes are more like boxes. They have a pillar coming off the metatarsals. These would be the first section of the toes. The front of the toes are all versions of a sort of boxy shape, except the pinky toe. The big toe is, well, the biggest and most boxy. It tends to taper towards the front. The other toes will mimic that sort of boxiness, but to a less degree. Sometimes they'll even be like a teardrop shape. But unless you're drawing the pinky, avoid circles. It will add a pudgy, snowman-looking effect to your toes. You can make them more rounded, such as for babies, for example, with pudgier feet, but just avoid perfect symmetry. Last up, when you're standing on your foot, there will be this zigzag stair-step pattern from the first section to the middle, and then to the bottom, where your toenails are at. I hope this video helped. It seemed to be kind of like the equivalent of Thanksgiving dinner with all the info I just dropped in no particular order. If it did help and you like these sorts of educational videos, I got a bunch more on my YouTube channel where I teach little things I've learned to try to get better at them myself, so consider coming over and subscribing. Other than that, I hope you have a great rest of your day.